Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons & Degrees. My name is Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
Today, we are back with Patrick. PCPerini.
We're doing this. I'm into this. This is good.
Yeah, listen, I gotta get...
It's making me dizzy.
I'm loosening up,
Oh,
okay?
you
I got
gotta
the
shake
tank
Why are you
on.
the
loosen
wiggles out, you know?
Why?
I got the hood up. I'm ready to go boxing, running in the
Are we
rain.
all hooding up?
Shit, I don't
Okay,
have a
hold
hood.
on.
I wasn't told.
Ah!
I was not.
Well, no one was told, but it's just the wavelength me and Alex work on.
Always. Hood
No,
always.
I appreciate that. Oh, fucking Streetlight Manifesto. Not to derail us right
yeah.
away, but hell yeah.
Listen. First, one. I saw him at PAX U.
Oh, shit,
so I saw
really?
them. Yeah. It was amazing. It was incredible. Secondly, I need all of the fucking kids that go to these goddamn shows to know and understand, even though we're at like a ska punk rock show, the entire pit is not for you to punch everybody in. There is a specific section that we all mutually agree on that you can wail the shit in there, but it is not the entire standing room only section.
That's valid.
Which these fuckers did not respect.
No.
I absolutely hate that. I see people who run against the wall of the pit, and I'm like, no, the people in the pit want to be in the pit. The people on the outside don't want to be there. They're just there because there's no other way to go.
God damn.
I was there early so I could get into the second row of I was like the fence, and then there was the people that were there that were like, I'm not fucking moving, which I was like, fair, dude. So then I got myself behind that like first. And I shit you not, my arms were like braced in front of me, like in between the person, like protecting the person in front of me, because I was like, you're going to be crushed. And it was just like a tiny little girl, like not a little girl, but she was shorter than me. And I was like, I can keep my arms locked and we can be safe together. But that earned me a goddamn set list. So
Hell yeah.
Also,
I don't know, that just feels so antithetical to Streetlight Manifesto's whole like vibe. Like they're so positive. I feel like
positive?
in an angry way, I'll grant you, but like
okay.
you know,
The last time I saw them, they were with Real Big Fish and MXPX. So like, sure, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I mean, don't get me wrong. The pit being chaotic, I get. That level of careless disrespect, get your shit together. Come on.
Yeah. You gotta
it felt really Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's fair. It's also we do have to make huge allowances for being in Philadelphia.
the Super Bowl just happened. They greased the shit out of those goddamn
You're really
pulpits.
lucky they didn't light like one of you on fire at random. That feels like the thing that they do.
You know, there were so many people from PAX Unplugged at that show.
That's
though.
fucking
like,
cool, though.
We all walked back to the same hotels, and I was like, "That's fun." So who the fuck was in that goddamn pit?
The Philadelphians.
Oh, fucking get your shit together.
Does Philly have bridge and tunnel people? I feel like them.
Probably.
They were like white dudes that were like very clearly intoxicated, and like they went into the pit with their alcohol, and I was like,
no.
That's just someone who's just like shows up to the venue just to do that.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna practice
fucking.
for when the real show
limbers.
comes.
Oh man, you see them doing fucking hamstring stretches in the corner before they're going in. Jesus Christ.
No.
Okay, well that listen, a mixed bag of a show apparently, but Streetlight Manifesto, good
Always.
shit.
So good.
Yeah, we're trying to, but we'll see how much we get into that. Talk about season 1 wrapping earlier this year.
Yes.
Yay.
Season 1 of Unbalanced Encounters is done. It's over. We did it. That's a thing that we have done.
Ooh, how do you feel about this thing that you have done? And created?
Okay, so Lord, it has been over. We finished recording in August, right before Gen Con of last year, and we finished releasing, I believe, early January. I'm still unpacking it, right? I'm still trying to figure out like how do I feel about it, and like what did it mean to sort of go through that experience. I think whenever you do something that takes nearly 3 years of your life, and you finish it, and you could say, I'm done. I have completed what I set out to do. And that's anything, right? It's a degree, apropos to the show that we're on, any sort of study abroad, travel, any big life thing that you set out to do that at the outset is going to take some time. There's such an immense amount of pride. But that's also very deeply personal, right? Like, our audience doesn't give a fuck about that. And that's also an interesting thing to consider, is that there's also feelings to be had about the feelings other people have. And so that, I think, is what I have been unpacking. And yeah, good, but it's a lot to do something that scale. Highly recommend it if you're a crazy person.
Right crowd already. I take meds. You take meds?
Yeah.
No, but I could take meds.
It's always an option. It's always an option.
I could.
Talk to your therapist. Figure out if there are meds that are right for you. This sounds like a bit. It's not a bit. Actually do that.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a thing.
But yeah. So yeah, we finished it up, and I think that there was so much feeling that went into sort of ending the thing, and the sort of one kind of mile marker. All right, I'm gonna take off sort of content creator hat for a moment and just like be a human person.
You're gonna bare your soul like this?
Yeah,
on the
fuck
internet?
it.
Full head of hair. Look out!
You're so brave.
Why the hell would you do a 3-year-long campaign? That's a crazy thing, right? It's so much crazy thing that we're not doing that again, right? Our next thing, we're continuing the show. We are not doing another 3-year-long campaign. Quite frankly, when you look at most of the other big actual plays, they're also kind of shying away from it, other than Critical Role, which is its own brand of crazy people. You see smaller kind of stories, right? It's a little bit more digestible, a lot easier to fucking do. We kind of knew going in that this was a crazy thing to do, and I kind of decided that this is how I wanted to spend this chunk of my life, this period of my life, because Emily at the outset said, I want that, right? Like I want to be able to have that 3-year-long campaign where at the end I'm in absolute tears because of the journey that we went on together and the story that we got to tell. And the purely selfish kernel of what we did at Unbalanced Encounters is that I wanted to do that for her. I wanted to see her be able to experience that. And if I didn't do anything else, if the whole show fucking sucked, I did that. And I'm proud of that.
It's about love. Oh, it's so romantic.
Melting. You are melting.
Stop.
So, like, I guess I'm saying if you want to start a 3-year-long podcast, maybe really care about the people that you're doing it with and for, Like, maybe that's what gets you through to the end.
That's so cute.
So, yeah.
Was there ever a point that you said, oh no, this is going to all fall apart during that 3 years?
Oh my God. So many times. So many times. There's one that immediately jumps to mind. So, again, another crazy person thing that I do not recommend doing is that when you're trying to do a podcast where you really give a shit about the audio quality, don't move 8 times. Don't do it. Don't move 8 times. I've done it, and it's not good. We moved. Emily and I were sort of doing the long-distance relationship kind of back and forth England and America thing, and we decided we were going to do a longer stint in the UK. And we ended up in London. And we had just moved into the flat, and wildly enough, the flat was actually really great for recording. We made it work really extraordinarily well. But there was a lot happening, and it was very hectic, and we're now spread across 8 hours worth of time zones. We're in England. Craig had just moved to the West Coast. And so we were all out of sorts. When Craig set up his new room where he was recording, he put his microphone right in front of a window. And so my man is recording into a window. And if you know anything about audio, don't do that. Don't do that. It's not great. And I missed it, right? Like, we're exhausted from the move and trying to frantically set up our own spaces, and we didn't really do a sound check. That was the arc that we had Sayer in as well, so we're now coordinating 5 players instead of 4. Absolute carnage, absolute chaos. And I missed that Craig had sort of done this thing, and he is almost unintelligible. And it's that episode's up. That's arc 2 part 12, I think. That episode went live. And it was almost fucking unintelligible. It was really, really bad. And fortunately, it was kind of an Isaac Light episode, but we had to put a little rider up top, hey, audio issue. And there was just a day where I was sitting on the floor, my laptop, like, on the couch facing me, this monolith that I dare not touch for fear of what I might find. And I remember saying to Emily, I don't know if I can finish this goddamn story. And I think we went to like a pub and got dinner and like took the rest of the night off and then came back and I finished the episode. We put the writer up top saying that there was an audio issue. It was the last one of those that we really kind of fucked in that way. Mm-hmm. And you know, you get back on the horse and you figure it out and you just keep saying, can I get one more done until it's over? But that was one instance where I was in a fucking hole. Emily had to pull me out of a hole. I was like, I can't do this. This is overwhelming. This is not worth the energy to try to fix this. I'm going to look like a goddamn fool if I put this out onto the internet. And like, wildly enough, there are at least 2 or 3 people in our Discord community who that's their favorite episode because there's some good bits in it, you know?
Yeah. It to different people's, the story was more than the audio. It was the people in it. Yeah. But you are very for the audio, so
No, don't. No, I'm not for. You are absolutely for the audio.
Stated at the like, top.
Episode 1, you're like, hey guys, I'm so sorry this fucked up. Rather than being like, this is the first episode, you get what you get.
That was actually another instance that I was really overwhelmed, and that was we didn't have a good recording platform yet. We hadn't like experimented with all of the hundreds that existed. We were trying to use the bot that'll record Discord calls, and
that little bear guy.
Yeah, it just fully ate mine. Mine was just gone, and so I had to use like the like call backup, which was not great. And obviously, again, you know, our first episode I think hits really well in a lot of ways, and it was a lesson learned. You know, I think it's obviously it's good to hold yourself to a reasonably high standard. It's also really good to remember most people don't give a shit. They're just here for the art you're making, right? They're here for the funny. They're here for the cute. They're here for the story.
And that's because of the kind of the community that was tailored when creating this. So I don't think it's by accident that they stayed longer. Not because, one bad episode, I'm out of here.
Peace. Yeah, I mean, and that's, you know, something else that we've been really very grateful for is, you know, we've just done a good job and also been very lucky to attract very, very cool fucking people who listen to the show. Like, you know, I hear horror stories. I was watching Cinder stream the other night, and there was somebody who was giving him grief in the stream, and he was like this close to getting into a fist fight with this guy, right? Like, and kind of justifiably so. The awful comments you see on things, the absolute trashed reviews that you can get on sort of podcasting platforms, especially on Apple, where that shit is not moderatable, which is an independently huge problem. It's a fucking nightmare out there. We've been really, really lucky that the overwhelming majority of people who pay attention to our shit are like crazy fucking chill and very cool people.
That's so cute.
We found a good corner of the internet and we're protecting it with our whole fucking chests. I don't know.
Once everything was done, I guess I'll say in respects to the recording process.
Yeah, sure.
What was y'all's kind of like debrief and feelings at the end?
Yeah, 100%. It was messy. I think especially immediately after the recording, everybody was just like almost disassociative, right? There was this element of like, we just have to log off and be in our feelings about it for a little while, which was also a little different because it's the first time I've ended a big campaign like that, not in the same room as the other people who were doing it. And it was weird for everybody to be like, I can't do any more camera time, which means I have to walk away from the like aftercare that we could be providing to one another, right? Which is totally valid, but it was very sort of unusual. We sort of stayed in that place for the week that we had before we all went to Gen Con. And then Gen Con happened.
That's
and
crazy.
You guys were there. But yeah, we all went to Gen Con. We got a house together. And I think that in many ways that was really good and really smart. It was a lot of work. It was very hectic, but it really did afford us the opportunity to like get that closure and to like be in that space and say like, hey, we did this thing. We should be immensely proud. Let's go spend time in the community that we've created and enjoy that we did it. We set out to do a thing and we did it. And that was, I think, really smart. If you ever wrap a 3-year-long D&D podcast, go to Gen Con a week after, I guess. That's a fun time. But yeah, it was sort of this delightful mix of we're totally exhausted, deliriously over-socialized, but also able to connect in the way that I think you need to when you finish something of that magnitude with other people who have been kind of in that raw emotional state with you for so long.
Do you have like any nagging feelings of I could have done?
That's a question that I think the people in my life have been studiously avoiding. So thank you for just going ahead and saying
I'm
we want the content.
No, 100%. It's a great fucking question. I honestly think the answer is I don't think we left anything on the cutting room floor or in the book that we wanted to put in, right? I think everything that we said we wanted to do, we did. Where the doubts kind of come in are, did we sort of do it in the right way? And y'all know that when you're doing sort of longer form improvisation, there's a tendency to sort of meander. It's kind of hard not to. You evolve with the story, you evolve with the characters, and you have to follow their journeys, right? You can't be on the rails of, oh, I know how this is going to end from day one. And so one thing that really nagged at me from the drop, that still I'm kind of like, I'm just in my heart of hearts, I'm not positive that we wrap this the right way, is that the final moments of action did not take us back to Raleigh. We started in this really small place, and we explicitly ended somewhere very, 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 very far away from that. And I think in many ways that's emblematic of the journey, but I think in many ways it's also not, it's not bringing us all the way back around in the way that I think I wanted to when I started the story. And there's a reconciliation of like, does that mean it's bad? Does that mean it's do I have a regret about that? Like, there's tension there, right? And I think that we did a good job in, spoilers, the flash forwards at the end of the final episode, bringing the kind of crafted narrative back around to that sense of place and that sense of community. But there's I think forever going to be a nagging doubt for me of like, we didn't bring the action back there. And does that mean that we really left something important intentionally undone?
I think it's fair to have those ideas. I know that eventually you'll have other worries like the next campaign to be doubting about to just push it away.
Oh man. we started the first episode of season 2 last Sunday, and I have been in my feelings about that process. It's wild.
What kind of feelings? Like just stress, sad, excited,
kind of none of those, which is wild. It hit me in a way that I was genuinely not expecting, because again, huge shift in the way we're doing things between season 1 and season 2. Season 1, it was the 5 of us. None of us have ever done anything like this before. The biggest sort of artist / content creator in this room is, is Cinder, and the rest of us have zero idea what we're doing, right? We're piecing it together as we go. We're building the train as it runs, and we have 3 years to figure it out. Season 2, the first arc of season 2, we have 12 episodes to tell a cogent story, and I have 6 or so people working with me behind the scenes to make sure that everything is happening in a cohesive sort of way, because we don't have 3 years to figure it out. And so when we go into the first session, and first sessions are always kind of fucking weird, right? Like you don't know exactly kind of who you're going to be playing off of, even if you know the players super well. Like, they're bringing different characters to the table in a big way. It's going to be a little weird. And so we go into the first session, and I kind of black out. And 3 hours later, it's done. And all of my notes, all of my check boxes are ticked in my notes. Mm-hmm. And all of my crew are listening to the footage saying, you hit every single beat. Every plot point you needed to get in is there. It's funny. It's listenable. It's 3 hours, and I don't know how you're going to get it down to an hour and a half, because it's good. And I kind of just didn't connect to it in the way that I so intimately connected to every episode of Rally. And I'm still trying to think. I'm still trying to figure out why, I think. And I think a lot of it has to do with preparation and pacing when you have a lot of time for organic development versus when you need to get a lot out the door very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not feeling, like you said, I'm not feeling stressed about it. It's just so different. And that change hits the body in a weird way, right? It's like, oh, you can feel it, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's like the unknown of this new process that you're working on, and can't tell, and I guess potentially until the future, what it actually means to you as a producer, a creator, things like that.
And I think that's
no. I also wonder if, like, your brain sort of just automatically associates, like, the first episode of season 2 to how you felt the first episode of season 1, right? So maybe it's the fact that you were beginning that maybe I'm disconnected, but that leaves a lot of how much you've grown since the beginning of Rally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's totally a big part of it. Right. And I really do think that we build up these expectations in our head of what something good and fun and entertaining kind of feels like to produce. And you're not often afforded the opportunity to get that early feeling when you're doing sort of big long form stuff like Rally was. And so there wasn't a lot of experiencing starting in a way that allowed us to incorporate all of what we had learned. And now we're getting to do that, and it's such a huge delta, right? It's like it's hitting. I mean, I can't speak to the rest of the players. They seem to be fine. They seem to be cool. They're not having conniptions about this at all.
Existential feelings or anything like that.
100%. No, they're great. But it hit me like a fucking truck. And I have, we're going into our next episode on Friday. I feel really good about it. I feel really confident about it. But it's been an interesting process, kind of beginning again with such a huge differential.
With your second round of auditions, versus your first, was there anything that you brought to it when trying to figure out who you want and what's it called? Who has to stay behind? I don't know how to say it.
For sure. I think a lot of what we brought through from the first audition into the second is a decent intuition about who is going to play well. And that's something that is sort of hard to screen for. There's not like a question or like a self-reported answer that you can give. You kind of have to watch how someone interacts in a space and the degree to which they are able to voice what they need in order to be comfortable and safe in order to play, and the degree to which you can kind of glean that from them to whatever degree they're bringing to the table, right? And that was something that we did, I think, a really good job of in season 1, and I think we continue to do a really good job of in season 2. The big difference between the two was a big fucking ramp in clear communication, clear availability, taking this seriously, right? Are you going to be moving halfway through a recording, right? I did that a lot, and we're not doing that again, right? And just a sense, I think, of for want of a better word, professionalism that I don't think was, like, the original cast is still on the show, so we definitely picked well for people who are able to do that. But it wasn't as big of a criteria in season 1 as it was in season 2, where we were like, hey, this was a lot to get through for all of us, and it posed some really interesting, again, kind of existential questions for all of us, right? Every one of us had to ask, do we want to be this semi-professional performer? Do we want to be visible? Do we want to submit our name for award consideration? And those sorts of things. There's not necessarily a right answer to any of those questions, but having kind of an opinion and having a feeling of like, I know how this work fits into my life was something that we were a little bit more intentional about, I think, in season 2, just because we wanted to make sure that everybody was aligned with what we wanted. We didn't want to have to spring on somebody, oh, no, you're going to be the front runner for best performer consideration at the Crit Awards on our behalf this year. Sorry, we didn't tell you. Like, that's not the energy we want to bring to the table. So I think it was a lot of that kind of stuff.
With this new kind of format, you're saying 12 episodes. Is that going to be the end of season 2, or is it just like another story within, and they're like sub stories, or how's that kind of work out?
So we did a weird thing that I loved in season 1 that was kind of the backbone of our Patreon for a long time, which was that while we were producing Rally, we were shooting these little 3-episode kind of micro campaigns that were set in the same world as Rally, and many of them, 2 of them that got published publicly pretty much immediately, The Hateful Fate and Small God Scatter, and then one of them that was paywalled, Old Folks' Tome, were direct backstory to the campaign, and the rest of them were these fun little jaunts that were sort of like peripheral and world buildy and helped us sort of flesh out and make kind of a Stilla that feel like this real place. And they were a tremendous amount of fun to do. They allowed us to experiment widely with genre, narrowly with different game systems, though we're hoping to push that a little bit more in season 2, and bring in new people and kind of rotate cast through a little bit as well. We're taking everything that we learned in that process and making that kind of the main thing that we do. So season 2 is set in a completely new world, which we have not named yet because it hasn't come up. But that world, the anchor of that world is going to be these first 12 episodes. And that's going to be a single arc. And it is going to, run for those 12 episodes. There's going to be a beginning and then an end to that story. Again, I kind of liken it to Dimension 20's, Fantasy High, right? If you think about Fantasy High as having a freshman year, if they had ended it at the end of freshman year and been done, that would have been a complete story, right? So we're shooting for something kind of on that scale. Potential for sequels, but we're not going to come back to that right away because we're going to be exploring these smaller games. So we have 3 more stories queued up to come later in 2025 that are each going to be 4 episodes long and are going to be different cast, different game systems entirely. We're going to mix up the GMing a little bit, and the whole point is to flesh out other corners of this world that we wouldn't have necessarily seen. Already we're thinking one of them might be a direct backstory to this first arc, but the rest of them may not have anything to do with it at all outside of just being set in the same physical world, allowing us to do that sort of Pratchett-esque kind of asynchronous world building.
Okay, the question was been answered. What's it called? I was like, are they going to be the same length? Oh, you already said it. Okay,
Yeah.
well, now I'm derailed from like hold one in the chamber and then let go.
Yeah, right.
What are you looking forward to within new systems?
That's a good question. I mean, my obligatory answer up top is that I'm really looking forward to not fucking working with Wizards of the Coast even indirectly anymore. This might be career suicide, but Hasbro's a bad company and you shouldn't interface with them. They gave us a great out. The 2024 rules were a great opportunity where they were basically saying, hey, we're bifurcating our own audience, get on board or get out of the way. And it opened up, to my mind anyway, a lot of room to be like, okay, well, if you've just halved the kind of core audience that we sort of talk about vaguely of 5e, giving us more room to play something else, even if your expectation is that that something else is 2024E or whatever the hell they call it, I'm going to pick something very different, right? I'm going to pick something kind of radically different. And then that gets into what I'm excited about for the individual games, which is narrative prompt and toolkit for stories that are not power fantasy heroes' journeys, right? There's a thing that I'm going to say as if I came up with it, and I really fucking didn't. There are a lot of smart people out there all over the internet that talk about this stuff all the time, and I'm mostly just repeating them. But tabletop role-playing games and the genre of story that they produce are fundamentally inextricable. If you want to use D&D as your everything box, you will always end up telling a D&D story. And there is no amount of reskinning, so long as the core rules are intact, that is going to make it not fundamentally a D&D story. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If you love telling D&D stories, if you love telling power fantasy, heartthrob, hero's journey situations, do it, right? Live that truth. And we like those stories too. We're going to be starting, our first arc is going to be using Tales of the Valiant from Kobold Press, which is very similar to 5e, right? We think there's a lot of room for those stories, and that's great, right? Nothing wrong with that at all. But when we want to pick up a Regency narrative, a sort of Pride and Prejudice adjacent thing, or when we want to pick up a heist, right? A proper train robbery, or when we want to sort of pluck at existential horror, there just aren't tools in the D&D toolbox for almost any of those things. Doesn't mean you can't figure out how to play a game alongside the power fantasy that's happening and make your power fantasy sort of horror themed, but the rules are not supporting that narrative, that play at all. There are games that do. There are games that will, and you should be aware of them at least, right? Even if they're not for you, even if you decide that that's not the road you want to go down, there's a lot of good game design out there that helps to facilitate these sort of different kinds of stories and player interactions and ultimate narratives. And I'm excited to get to explore that. I'm excited to get to really lean into some of those things.
Is there any room for Gundams?
There is now. Write that down. Holy shit. Yes. I mean, but that's also kind of the thing that I really love is that like we want to do some real buck wild experimental stuff. And there are games that support it and games that don't. I'm playing I just wrapped a playtest of a friend's game that he's working on. I have no idea when it's going to be out and don't have permission to like name it or anything, but it's a game that is played in two phases. One phase is sort of a free-form kind of scene-calling dice pool game in the like Rowan Rook and Deckard family of things. And then the other phase is straight up a 1 hour timed city council meeting where there are rules about how you need to interact with the meeting and how you have to like call conferences, call in second votes, how legislation gets passed. And then that legislation gets enacted because you're in charge of a city, gets enacted, and then influences what you're able to do in the next phase, which is the sort of more freeform dice pool roleplay phase. And it is crazy fun. And it allows for a scale and type of storytelling that if I had to cast Fireball would never be, like, I would never get there, you know? And so I'm really excited to be able to fuck with stuff that takes big experimental swings at things.
Yeah. Here's one's a personal question.
Sure.
What are you doing to my character in freaking
God, my heart.
Mason's game? There's some secret stuff like, I can't tell you, Adrian. I'm like, Mason, you're changing my character. I don't tell me more. It's like, this is all I can tell you, okay? I love you, Adrian.
Wait, hold on. Wait, which sorry.
I'm playing a game with Mason where has the Godslinger.
Yes.
And they're changing things up because they're making tweaks to it.
So yes. I did not realize that you were playing the Godslinger. So this is something that we've not talked about publicly in any way because we haven't even name dropped the sort of first arc yet. But for a while, Cinder Mason and I have been working on a Weird West setting book that was originally for 5e. We're still playing with whether or not we want that to be the ultimate vehicle, especially with the new rules. Mm-hmm. But one of the coolest things out of that supplement book is a class called the Godslinger. And the Godslinger is my favorite take on a gunslinger class, which is basically the gun is alive. It is made of an extraplanar entity, and it wants to kill people. You are its way of doing that. And so it drags you around the wastes, making sure it gets what it needs out of this relationship. It's very sort of warlock and very fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. It's whispering into my head right now. 100%. So just it's horrible.
In the new arc of Unbalanced Encounters, Emily is playing a mean girl with a gun. She is playing the Godslinger, and as a consequence, we had to rework the class to work in Kobold Press's Tales of the Valiant, which, you know, they talk about it being sort of backwards compatible with 5e, and I think that's largely true. It's certainly more true than 2024e being backwards compatible to 5e.
Right.
But there are a few changes in the way that level progression works that made it so that some assumptions we had made about the Godslinger, which was buck wild in its first drafts, did not translate super well. And so we had to like reorganize some stuff and provide a little bit different kind of structure and flavor. But I mean, fundamentally, it's pretty much the same. It's totally fine. We just replaced a first level feature that could kill you. It's fine.
Yeah, which is good because as anyone who's ever played with me knows, I roll horribly.
Oh, God.
So I need that. I need those ticks. I need those bad.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. That first level feature is a doozy if it backfires. But yeah, we're very excited. Just to riff on that for a second, Emily's character in the new arc, when she got the gun, held it between thumb and forefinger with disgust, and accused her mother of sleeping with her therapist. So that's the kind of energy that we're dealing with on this new fucking arc.
That's the type of energy Emily brings to the function.
100%.
All right, cool. I just wanted to know who is getting pulled through the ringer, who's getting tweaked a little.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, Gen Con's coming up. What are you excited about? Are you going?
Gen Con. Okay, hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Time out. Gen Con is so far in the future. Like,
listen, this episode is going to be closer when it's released.
Of course, this episode is going to be closer to when we are.
That's just how time works. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Linear passage of time. I mean, also, Gen Con is always closer than it appears. They've sold out of housing already, I think.
Dude, they gave me the weirdest time, 12:53 p.m. on Sunday to use the hotel portal.
What the fuck?
And I was just like, why? Why to the minute?
Because it's I think they do it in waves, and it doesn't matter because they just don't. They're not even within an order of magnitude of having the right housing numbers, and so. The long and short of it is we would like to go to Gen Con. My goal was to be able to go to Gen Con mostly just to hang out in the hotels and like spend time with people, because I feel like the community building that happens there, especially in this sort of professional TTRPG spaces, is unparalleled. It was revelationary last year. The con itself is fine if you like buying shit.
So
right?
you're wedding crashing Gen Con.
I wish. I wound up with a badge and no hotel reservation. So we'll see. I think we're kind of riding that pedal, trying to figure out if we can get something. We've got a backup plan we think we might be able to do, but they're not kidding when they say if you want to go to Gen Con, get in on it early, because it is hard to secure what you need to secure in order to go.
No, for sure.
Yeah. But what we'd be excited about would pretty much just be the same set of things that we were excited about last year, which is like going to the parties and getting to hang out with people and like seeing what Hunter's Entertainment is doing, and sort of figuring out what Cobalt Press is up to, and then just hanging with friends, hanging with y'all. I think it's one of those things where it's like this industry is so, especially compared to other sort of more capitalist-oriented industries, is so geographically dispersed. And it's the only time where we can be like, yeah, our friends from Texas and Georgia and Florida and New York and Philly and Australia are all in the same place. And we can hang and vibe. And I think that's worth its weight in gold.
No, it was excellent being a part of that experience with y'all. It was amazing.
You mean being a part of a community, Adrian?
Yeah.
What's a community?
It's a group of people
Isn't
that kind of
that
like
show
each other.
with Danny Glover?
The North Cafeteria. God damn. Oh yeah, it is. Community. That ephemeral thing that we say we build on Discord, but really, no.
It's okay. Listen, I think it's hard. I think the Discord community is weird because no offense to people who are on the Discords, right? The people who are on the Discords are not the people I want to talk to. The people I want to talk to run the other Discords, and we are all out of spoons. We are constantly washing dishes and still come up with nothing. And so I lurk. I don't engage because I engage so much.
Sure. Absolutely. I 100%. And I feel exactly the same way. And that's something that I find to be, it's actually interesting because I think you guys know this, that before I kind of got into creative work, I was in fucking like Silicon Valley tech for a long time. And so I have some experience with professional spaces in ways that I detest. But one thing that I feel could translate to the way that we organize ourselves both professionally and from a community perspective is that we are often considered to be consumers in spaces where we really want to be collaborators. And I get really frustrated with things like PAX Unplugged and Gen Con because on the one hand, all of these brilliant artistic minds are in this space yearning for connection and collaboration, and in cases commiseration, to be together in real life. And the only way that we're sort of afforded that opportunity is when there's a fucking capitalist circus going on in the arena that, is where everybody's slinging their stuff, right? And it is considered to be part of the same event as this buying this buying apparatus that is.
And I just got kicked out immediately after that. I don't know what the heck's going on.
We're back. We're so back.
Yeah.
Something about credit cards. I don't remember.
We are consumers in creative spaces.
Yeah, and we've got this sort of buying operation where the expectation is that we're there to buy trading card games and board games and tabletop games and entertainment, right? A lot of the talks, kind of a lot of the events that are happening are shows that people are doing where we're expected to sort of be in the audience, and that fundamentally puts two unrelated goals in the same space and expects them to kind of work out the same way, right? Cons are great. If you're into Comic-Con and that's the life you want to lead, and that's totally fine, right? Like, that's perfect. You go enjoy that about the world. They exist in spades. There aren't a lot of professional spaces for the people who make that kind of stuff to just show up and spend collaborative time. And when I worked in tech, it was very much the other way around. You go to things like the Game Developers Conference or the fucking Apple one, whatever the hell it's called. And it is entirely people who make things professionally, learning, sharing information, and building community. And that, I think, is something that we don't necessarily have as much access to as I would like. And I don't know who we gotta like threaten with a gun in order to get it. You know what I'm saying?
I think I am. I don't know what it is, but I'm down.
Well, and I agree with you because I think that's the same. There's the same in like the teacher professional world.
Yeah.
Right. Going to professional develop. Well, okay. Hold on. Not the professional development that the districts put on. That's not what I'm talking about because that is dumb. But like I've gone to the science teacher conference. I've gone to an art teacher conference, and like there's plenty of time to sit there and collaborate. And like a lot of the times I'm like, okay, cool. Here's my lesson. Here's what I'm doing at my school and representing. And then it becomes a round table. And I agree with you. I think something, well, listen, we just started.
Yeah.
And then we turn it into a commune.
There you go. Step
you
one, step
stop
two.
Making everything into a commune.
But
well, one of them will work eventually.
That one has the potential to work out. It is a retreat, right? It is but then what do you label it? Because I'm like a content creator retreat. Like,
yeah, that's
I don't want to go to that one.
Too many problematic things happen when they. So Patrick, I have in my notes that at the end, your last episode, you cried like a bitch. How was that?
Yeah, that's actually wow. Did Emily send you that?
No, I was there. I was an inside man.
Yeah, no, it was rough. There were a couple of times throughout Rally. That really, really, really broke me down. And I don't think all of them, but almost all of them were watching Emily have to say goodbye. It's one of the, I mean, listen, there are upsides and downsides to doing weird art with the people you love. It's one of the hardest things that I've ever had to witness. And she did it like 3 times. And feeling like it was time to say goodbye, knowing that we were all in our own way, because everybody wrote those flash forwards. I didn't really have too much of a hand in those flash forwards. They were all generated by the players. Knowing that we were all trying to say goodbye in our own way, we got to Emily's and I just broke down because it was so poetic and so her. And she puts so much of what she's lost from the world, as we all have. She puts so much of it into that moment. And it really got to me. It really was the thing that broke down the barrier. And I just couldn't stoic my way through the end of the thing.
Right, because you cared about her.
Yeah. And I cared about what we were doing. And I think that there was... I listen... You're a masculine presenting individual.
I have a beard.
You and I could come together in this moment of we are disincentivized to access our feelings most of the time, at least socially.
Because of social pressures, yes.
Right. The patriarchy, etc. And I mean, listen, I'm a person who spends a lot of time thinking about those sorts of things. I'm a person who spends a lot of time trying to heal from that, sort of very toxic environment. Sometimes it really does take watching someone else do it in a more emotionally honest way, especially someone that you care about, to just drive through the heart of it and be like, okay, I can now access this. Or in some cases, I can't help but access this. And Emily's very good at that. She's very good at showing up very, very emotionally honestly, especially at the table. And it cuts straight through to, I care about her, I care about this, I care about what it's meant for me, I care about what it's meant for us, I care about the relationships that I've built. Because I had briefly met Cinder and Craig and Sam before we started recording, but there wasn't much of a rapport there. And like, they're some of my closest friends in the world now. And for that to happen over such a tight period of time, Sayer as well, for that to happen over such a tight period of time, it hits, and it hits pretty hard. So it meant a lot, and it was there were a lot of big feelings.
If you were to give superlatives to each one of your cast members, what would you give?
So are we doing like the high school most likely to sort of superlatives?
Sure. Yeah.
All right,
if you
cool.
want. It was open.
Okay, I accept. No, let me think about that. That's actually really good. I may honestly want to sort of answer that more earnestly. I think I've said this before, and I will stand by it. Emily is the funniest person on the show. Emily's the funniest person on the show. I think I'm probably close to the least funny person on the show. Emily's the funniest person on the show. Sam is the most, I think, emotionally earnest person on the show, and that feels like such a fucking cop-out, but it was a glue. It held things together in ways that we were constantly being surprised by. And she put so much of her whole self into every interaction at that table, into all of the art that we're making. And it ended up being really very deeply invaluable. And then for the lads, Cinder, I think, is probably the best performer. And I think what I mean by that is, like, most likely to do fucking well on a vaudeville stage, right? The man knows pacing and knows how to create an arc, how to bend that arc to do something interesting, how to turn a bit into something really meaningful. Constant audience awareness. He's probably the best performer at the table. And then I think Craig is probably the best storyteller. And this is something that I've said, at least, I don't know if I've said this on a podcast or anything, but I've definitely said it to a bunch of our friends that, like, throughout all of Rally, Craig and I talked like 4 times. And if you go back and you listen, there's no way we only talked 4 times. Mm-hmm. The man was in my head. One of the 4 times that we talked was fully about his character's ultimate fate that was the climax of the show, and we talked for 30 minutes. It was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Oh yeah, of course, because XYZ and then 15 other things. We've been building into this for forever. That's obvious. I've got you. We don't need to talk about this anymore. And then we didn't. He just executed. And he is such a good intuitive storyteller, and he's doing it again in this arc, in the arc we just started as well, that he and I don't have to collaborate or plan in order for him to be able to deeply support the story that's being told at the table. Those are my superlatives. That's my honest, earnest answer. And I think that that's a big part of why the formula worked. It's a big part of why we were able to do the show and why it was pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, don't mind the awards. Don't look behind me with all my awards on my shelf.
Yeah, right.
You talked about having, more people kind of
Yeah.
watching what you're doing, some supporting individuals. Um, what was the growth from that? Was that just like, oh, in season 2 I'm gonna do it, or was it kind of like, okay, I need this. Okay, I need this. Like, kind of happened as it went.
It was pretty intentional. Toward the end of Rally, I actually joined another podcast. I'm on the crew of an audio drama called The Long Rest that is going to be coming to Kickstarter. May have actually, by the time this episode comes out, may have actually already done its Kickstarter. And I got involved in that because Emily was cast. She's one of the performers. And I kind of snuck in the back door and had a conversation with the showrunner. I was like, hey, do you need some directorial help? I have a bunch of theater experience and also a bunch of team management experience. Like, do you want me to help you out with this? And he was like, maybe. And then I did one session. He was like, yes, please. And I'm really lucky that he gave me that shot because it's been a tremendous amount of fun. And I've kind of discovered that I love directorial work. It's something that I really enjoy. I did not understand that there were people who do behind the scenes work without expecting a full-time salary. And this show had started with a crew of about 8. There was a sound designer, a couple of writers, a producer, myself, they're, doing direction, a pretty big team with nothing. There wasn't anything even written. It was just like a vague idea and a casting list, right? And that sort of forced me to reconcile. We were talking about not seeing the people behind the scenes as being visible, right? All you ever hear is that like Griffin McElroy makes all the music and Brian Murphy edits the whole show himself, right? Which, it might be true, but you don't hear about the people who are helping behind the scenes. And it forced me to reconcile with the idea that like, no, I need help if I'm going to do this again. And so we actually set an ultimatum. We said, we're going to go recruit a producer, a lore keeper, and I think we said a marketing person at the time. We've since brought on a game designer. And if we don't find those 3 people or whatever it was, there's not going to be a season 2. I can't do it, right? I can't do it by myself. And it turns out we found them and it was actually really easy and they're all great, right? Like, it took us like a week and a half and we found all of those people and it worked really, really well.
It's crazy what community does.
I know.
Oh, no.
And we couldn't have done it at the start because who are we, right? Bunch of fucking jabronis with no credentials and no experience.
I was there at the get-go. I loved y'all jabronis, okay?
I mean, we're fun, but like, we did try to find some engineering stuff, and that's something that I still do, and I probably will do sort of into the future, just because I'm fiddly about it, and also it's a very technical skill that's hard to find people who are sort of willing to donate the time to, but we tried to find somebody really early on and we just couldn't. And it reinforced this sort of misperception that like we weren't good enough to recruit people to like help us, right? Especially behind the scenes. Okay. And years later, we sort of shattered that. And, some of it was being able to say, hey, we are an award nominated show at the time, little things like that like in a scheme of things don't matter. Do a good job of signaling virtue to other people. It's like, yeah, you know what you're doing. You've been validated by the people that have the great judges of Minnesota. And I don't know why I'm ragging on Minnesota so much in this episode.
Yeah, I hate the Timberwolves.
Fucking Minnesota. Twin Cities too.
It's the only one that we haven't submitted to yet this year. And so I think it's just on my mind.
And the one you're like consistently racking on.
Well, they haven't opened submissions, okay. And so I'm like checking it every day. Anyway, I'm a crazy person.
Good company.
I think it made a lot of difference to see again the stories, the behavior model, because that's how we navigate the world. Is we see other people do it and we think, oh, there's a way they did that. Maybe I could do that too. And we eventually did, get the crew. And we got them back in August, actually, kind of July, August timeframe of last year, really fully spun up. And we said, hey, we have 6 months to get ready for season 2. None of the cast is going to be thinking about this, and I'm only going to be able to think about it maybe 20% of the time. Go get stuff ready for us, right? And they fucking did. They fucking delivered. And I absolutely could not be more proud of the people that I get to work with and the work that they have done. It has been really, really incredible. And, the proof will be in whether or not the show ends up being good. But from a process perspective, it makes a huge difference. So, if you're out there and you're an actual play producer, make sure your fucking people are in your credits, if nothing else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, put your producer in your show notes, buddy. Like, please help us understand that there are more people working on this than maybe are on the microphone.
You should give those people superlatives now, because we didn't put the pressure on them.
Wait. They're not there yet. They're not. This is for season 2. So
we gotta do season 2.
We gotta do season 2, and then
100%.
And then
we'll
Patrick
do
will be ready.
superlatives.
All right,
yeah,
all right.
I'll be back. But yeah. So we've been really lucky, and it's been really good, sort of having the support. And it's one of those things where it's like you'd think it would take a ton of time to make a huge impact, but once everybody's kind of spun up and you sort of have a working relationship, I mean, I think our producer is probably putting in 8 hours a week during the busy season, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody else is less than that, with close to 3 months off as we go into editing and marketing prep. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Alex, any more questions? We have a conversation to talk about.
We do. We have more work. Patrick, what are your 3 favorite things about Emily?
Christ. Was this podcast rated?
We say fuck. I don't know if that helps
out. No. I respect this woman way too much to put her on blast like that.
We have a conversation after this.
100%.
Where Alex just turns bright red and is like, I believe it.
Adrian turns bright brown.
If y'all are listening to this as an audio medium, Emily Graymore is, just objectively an attractive woman.
10 out of 10.
What are my favorite things about Emily? Her sense of humor, and it's not close.
You already said that.
Yeah, but I have to. There's a difference between I can make an audience laugh, which she is very good at, and I can, in this moment, emotionally connect with you, see you, understand what's going to bring you joy, and land it. And she's good at both, and they're not the same thing. So her sense of humor is both bombastic and fearless and present, but it's also very intimate, and I really love that about her. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, God, favorite fucking thing. She's probably one of the bravest people I've ever met. And I think a lot of the ways that has gotten represented in our relationship on like a day-to-day basis is, she's got a TTRPG coming out and called The Cunning Folk, and it's really good. It's really good. And she illustrated the whole thing. She did the whole thing herself. She illustrated the whole Kickstarter video, which is absolutely incredible. And when she started that process, she was like paralytically afraid of having people perceive that side of her creative work. And just day by day, 6 months, she got it done and is now at the place where she's very proud of it. And that's, for anyone who's ever done that, it's fucking hard, right? Like, not all of us have the opportunity to sort of, live a life where we're, kind of used to being very public and it sort of doesn't phase us in that way. Learning how to do that, especially as someone who is, and it's kind of starts as an intensely private person, it's fucking hard. And she's shown a tremendous amount of bravery around that, and also moving, right? She immigrated from the United Kingdom to the United States, which, if anybody's ever dealt with immigration in any direction, is one of the hardest things a human being can physically do. So absolutely one of the bravest people I've ever met. And all right, I will honestly, I'm gonna give this last one. It's just going to be an aesthetic thing. I love her hair.
Oh my God, right? I'm so sorry.
It was one of the first things, because Emily and I met on TikTok, wildly the fuck enough. And it was one of those things where she had come up in my feed a couple of times, and I did that thing that I think a lot of guys who aren't absolute unmitigated assholes. I mean, we're all working on stuff, right? But like absolute unmitigated assholes do, which is like, I was like, okay, she's very conventionally attractive woman on the internet. She doesn't need me in her life, right? Like I don't need to be in her fucking DMs. And I scrolled on. She had to find me in like a really, like in a big way. But the first thing that caught my attention was her hair. She has absolutely gorgeous hair, beautiful, kind of deep brown with kind of graying slightly at the temples in that kind of classic Arab way. Absolutely. So listen, I know that that's not something you generally don't want to give somebody an appearance-based compliment, but you asked what I loved about her, not what I would compliment her on, and it's
Listen, as the somewhat feminine representation once again in this podcast, sure. I will accept that is an okay thing to love. Like I
also love that she loves it about herself, and I think as very many of us are very self-conscious about the way that we appear, and we exist in a world where we are constantly being told that we are insufficiently conventionally attractive. That is a quality that she also holds very highly about herself, and she beams every time it gets a compliment, and I really love that. So,
ew, I love this so much, but ew.
You asked for it. You
I know.
asked for
listen,
it.
I think this week we all need a win. I think we all
need a win.
We all need a win.
We could really get a dub. Like that'd be great.
We need a win. I think the people who consume this content would be like, oh my god, like they talked about dungeons, and they talked about something romantic, and like the girlies will love it.
The girlies will love it, honestly.
Adrian, the girlies will love it. And then
I don't deny that the girlies will love it.
And then Patrick pulls this information and then is like, hey, here's wow.
What do we wait with which information?
Hey babe, you just need to go listen to the podcast.
Go listen to the podcast.
Thanks for supporting my work. And then
I honestly think she would be like, I think she would have a meltdown. I think she would this is too much. This is too much being perceived.
Wait until I say my favorite things about
it. Right. Oh my goodness.
Patrick, where can they find you?
Oh, what a wonderful question. So I exist on the internet, usually PCPerini.com, my website, my Bluesky. If you are interested in the quirky stuff that I'm doing, if you're interested in Unbalanced Encounters, you can find that at unbalancedencounters.com. We have, as we've mentioned many times, 2.5 years of Rally available on our website, as well as wherever podcasts are purveyed. And over the next few months, we're going to be releasing all of our previously paywalled bonus arcs, those little mini campaigns I mentioned, also to the website and wherever you get your podcasts. And starting early August of this year, we are going to be releasing our first arc of season 2. Where, again, Emily plays a mean girl with a gun. I'm not really sure what else you need to hear about it.
No, really, literally say less. Like,
Mean girl. Mean.
No, I think the gun matters. Maybe just gun.
Mean girl gun?
We're from Texas, so yeah. Mean girl gun.
Mean girl gun. That's actually, wow, that's enough to do a whole show right there.
Yeah.
Missed a trick. All right, we'll get to it.
Thank you, dear listener, for joining us on another episode
you.
No, you're not the listener. Let me do my thing.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh, just these men come on this podcast and they just no, it's okay. You can find our podcast wherever pods are cast. You can rate, subscribe, give us all of those things that we crave. It's electrolytes. We crave.
Yeah, we really were dehydrated like a motherfucker up in here.
That's what the plants crave.
What the plants crave. What a good tagline. Dungeons and Degrees is what the plants crave.
I love that movie so much.
Oh my god.
It's not what we're living through right now. Give us to your friends, your neighbor, your most intimate of lovers, You can also find us on social medias at Dungeon and Degrees, N being the letter. You can also help support us on patreon.com/Dungeon and Degree. And then whatever Patrick and I are about to cook up, you can find us there.
Yeah, more on that. Hopefully soon. That could be fun.
How soon?
Well,
I
don't know when this episode's coming out, so I'm not going to date it.
Soon. Soon.
TM.
The royal soon.
The royal soon. I live by that soon. You have no idea. Oh,
It knights us so often.
Listeners, thank you very much. And Alex and Adrian, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
Of
here.
course.
Of course.
Thank you for being a friend. Sorry. Thank you so much for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
And I'm Patrick.
Go have some fun.
I'm Dante.
Oh my god.
Hey!